And for some of you who don't know Connect Now, and so our name is Connect Now Investment Partners, and our main intention is to become your trusted and also long-term investment partners. And we really want to be we are really aimed at becoming your gateway and your community holders between the Chinese people or international expats who are living in Netherlands, and where we can provide the regular workshop, seminars, where you can learn and get your question answered from the industry expert. So welcome to follow up our social media account and join our event. So next to that is we are also providing like the 1-year stock trading program where you can really follow up our like the coach and follow up his portfolio, and to help yourself to you can trade your portfolio by yourself. And so if you are the real estate lovers, and so you can actually feel free to reach us to understand. You can directly book our services about the macro service and buy to let mortgage or self-living mortgage, or you can contact us to understand some of the actually some properties real estate which is under development. So when we have more people coming, yeah. So and then if you want to be the hands-free, the investors, we do have the 2 funds for you to get to know. And so one fund is about the real estate related, another fund is about stocks. Okay, so here is a part of our team, and as you may say, we are reading the compilation for the international team, and me and my partner Liu Wen, she's here, and so we are reading like we have the background of the working for the corporates. We are also like the immigrant, and also we also have experience about the full-time housewives, but so we really understand what are you up to, what is your situation. But because we are the newcomers, we are up to learn, and also we are up to make our wealth to grow in Netherlands. So therefore, we really engage with the local experts where they have years of experience, where they also would love to share their experiences and also engage you with different investment portfolios. Okay. Those are the past events we have already organized. Sometimes some of the events are offline events. Hope the pandemic is passing soon, and so we can meet each other offline again. But of course, we also organize some online events. This week, we already have 3 online seminars, and thank you for joining us. And our group also growing from the 28 people up to now already about 100 people. Thank you. So. And like what I mentioned about really follow up with us, because on 2022, the Q1, March 1st, we will launch our stock trading coaching program. And so some of you already joined the seminar from Andrew. And so for this coaching program, you really actually have the community for a whole year. You can have like one-on-one conversation with our coach. You can also have access with his portfolio where you can follow up how the way he's actually doing the trading. And so we talk about the funds, real estate funds. And so feel free if you interested with the the local fund, real estate funds investment, feel free to contact us. We got one more friend, Miss Stone, she's coming, yes. And there's another fund, financial market trading funds. And as what I mentioned, for 2022, it's gonna be the milestone year for us. And now we are in the communication and the project validating with the local land developer. And their reading has quite many different types of the properties. Some of them we might already passing by thousands of times. And actually they are the land developer, but also the property management. So we are now doing the communication with them. Hope for the 2022 or maybe 2023, we can offer you that where you can invest directly with the real estate properties in Netherlands. Okay, so here's our contact number. Sorry, we need to add the new one's contact number also in here. Here is my mobile number. It's our WeChat, which the email address. So that's all about Connect Now. But we say like now, let's step into today's topic. I think all of you come here because you want to understand more about the self-living house mortgage. And before that, maybe use a very quick time to introduce our speaker today. And himself is renamed, sorry, the full name is Mr. Renamed van der Wilder. And so he's a very experienced owner with the demonstrated history of working in the insurance industrial, and also skilled in the risk management, banking, financial planning, life insurance, and interior management. So himself current name is also the owner of his current company, and where he will give us more introduction about himself and what he can offer. Just like some side information, myself also in the buying the house, no matter for the self-living, also for the buy-to-let, like house real estate investment. So my user experience with Rename, he's always there, and he's always like trustworthy. You can trust in him with he will guide you through with the end-to-end procedure, from the moment before you are going to search the house until the moment you actually get the key of the property. So that's all about my side. Now let's everybody put the our attention to Rename. So Zikun, could you assign Rename as the co-host, and where he can present and share his PowerPoint?
Now he is already the co-host.
Yes, great, Renee. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you. You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Then I see you still, Gabi, but...
Sorry, Renee, yeah?
Yeah, I still see you, but let's have a look.
Great. Maybe you want to put for the projector.
Yeah, I'm busy now. So. Okay. So thank you, Gabi, for the introduction, the nice introduction. I saw that you have shown some information from our LinkedIn site as well. As a history teacher, and now you're listening to a person in the financial world. Anyway, what I'm going to do now in this meeting is just give you an introduction in the Dutch housing market and how it works to get a mortgage in the Netherlands. Maybe good to know, over here in the picture you see my colleague, my business partner Rob Wouters. He's on the right side, I'm on the left side. Well, you see that, of course. And maybe good to know is just telling you something about ourselves. We founded our company 3 years ago. So we're quite a new company, and before that we used to work for a company called Köhler. Köhler was quite a big company in the Hague area, and also having offices in Amsterdam, for example. But the problem was that they were taken over by a big American company, Aon. Maybe you have heard of them, one of the sponsors, for example, of Manchester United. And their policy, their ideas, and the size of that company, well, didn't fit to us. So we decided to quit, start our own company, and we're using still our network, which we have built up for 25 years now. Also because we both worked there for 18 years at Köhler. After we have started our company, our former colleague Rogier also joined us. So in fact, we're the three of us and doing exactly the same work we used to do before, and that is helping especially expats in buying and financing a property in the Netherlands. Our office is in The Hague, so you're looking now at where we are now. But we also have the ability to be in the offices in The Hague, in Rotterdam, and since well, very recent also in Utrecht as well. So we're all in the big cities, and in Amsterdam we can have meetings over there. Well, what I want to tell you today is just giving you a good impression what it means for buying a property. At this moment, it is focused on buying a property where you can live yourself in, but one of the other options can also be a so-called buy-to-let mortgage, but that is not what I'm going to give you an impression for today. So why should you buy a house? That is one of the options. How it works to buy a property when you're in the Netherlands, the total cost to make the property yours, and what our role in the whole process can be. So that is what the plan is for today. And of course, if you do have questions, you can send those questions to us, and then we will answer it during or maybe after the meeting. Well, why should you buy a house? Let's start with that. Well, first of all, you have to live somewhere. So one of the options is renting, and the other option is buying a house. There are not more other options over here. And what we see at this moment in the Netherlands is that renting is quite difficult and also very expensive for several reasons. So there are more reasons to buy a property. Well, the main one, and that is what I tell you also later on, is that the interest is very low at this moment. And if you also realize that you don't get any interest on your bank account, in the Netherlands, of course, then it can be quite interesting to buy a property and using your funds you're having on your bank account to buy a property over here. Also can see it as an investment, an emotional reason. Having your own property can be a reason. So there are several reasons to buy a property. Okay, let me give you just an impression of the current market circumstances at this moment, but because they are very difficult at this moment. What we see now, and that is also that is also caused by in fact by COVID, is that a house, an apartment, is very important for people in the Netherlands at this moment. We have to work at home nowadays. We have to stay more at home nowadays. So a house is pretty important. So, and before COVID, there were already not enough properties at this moment available. So what we see since COVID, especially since COVID, that more people want to buy a property and less properties are for sale. Also very difficult to rent a property at this moment, especially in the cities where people want to live, or places where people want to live. So what happens is that the market is very, very difficult at this moment. We call it the hectic market. It's really a seller's market at this moment. So what we see nowadays is, and that is what I try to make clear in this impression, is that you see, and of course, you probably all know the site, the internet site Funda, when you see, and when you're having a look at Funda, that we see that less properties are at the market at this moment. And what we also see, and that is visible in this figure, is that people have to overbid more and more. So at this moment, almost 80% of all for everybody who's doing a bid has to bid more than the market, than the asking price at this moment. And that is also a way of strategy of the sellers, because sellers put their houses, in fact, for a too low price on the market at this moment. So they get a lot of attention from a lot of people who wants to buy a property, and when a lot of people here are visiting the property, then they have to do a bid, and then you're not the only one who's doing a bid, so you have to overbid. That is how the market at this moment is working. That is also visible if you're just having a look at Funda. Funda is the site in the Netherlands if you want to buy a property, or if you want to have a look at the properties. And what we see, less and less properties are on the market at this moment. At this moment, I just figured out this morning, at this moment there are 17,435 properties available if you want to buy a property, and 17,000 euros if you have just having a look at 2016, there were 100,000 properties available. So, and that really is at this moment a problem at this moment.
Sorry, from here the chart it says like what is available properties on the market, right?
Exactly, correct.
What is the demand then?
Sorry?
What is the demand via the available properties?
The available properties is visible in this figure. So you see the 16,572 properties. They're on the market for sale now at this moment in the whole Netherlands.
Gotcha.
And if you have a look at the first part, you see 2016, in the third quarter in 2016, there were 100,000 properties available for sale on the market. So what we see, there are less and less properties available on the Dutch housing market at this moment. So that is what visible is over there. So what's happening when a new property is coming on the market, coming on Funda, then you immediately have to plan a visit. If you're waiting for 1 week, then you even cannot plan a visit anymore to view the house or the apartment. That is at this moment what's happening. And also you will be forced, and by my advisors, to do that always, to need a buying agent if you want to buy a property. First of all, visiting, you have to act quickly, plan a meeting immediately, and when you have done a meeting, then you also have to decide if you want to buy a property, if you find a property interesting, and if you want to do a bid, then you also immediately have to plan a strategy together with the buying agent, because you're not the only one who's going to do a bid when it's a nice property. That is the current market. Well, one of the reasons why house prices are increasing is not only because of the market, but also caused by the very low interest level at this moment. It is possible to have a mortgage depending a bit how much the loan will be connected to the value, the loan to value, but it is possible to have a mortgage for approximately 1% per year. So that is almost nothing. So the interest payments, and that is what you also will show later on during this meeting, is very low and much lower than the rent you're paying. So that causes also an increase of the prices at this moment. And also over here you see the long-term interest level for mortgages, and you see when you're looking quite a long time ago, 30 years ago, it was even more than 8%, and it's going down, and now it's approximately in between 1 and 1.5% for a fixed interest period of 10 years. One moment, please. Too much talk. Well, how does a mortgage work? Well, it's quite simple. You do need money, and you're paying interest, and you have to repay the mortgage. And the traditional repayment period for the mortgage is a 30-year period. We call it principal as well. And if we're talking about the mortgage, then in fact you have 3 types of mortgages, and they're visible in this in the figures you see over here, or in the first one, and that's the most common one in Holland is called we call it in the Netherlands the annuity mortgage. Annuity mortgage means that the monthly payments is equal every month. So every month you're paying the same amount of money. That's divided in between interest and repayment. And because you're going to repay every month, then the debt will be a bit lower. Because it's a bit lower, you're paying less interest. And in the opposite way, the principal is going to increase a bit. And that is what you're going to do for a maximum period of 30 years. Then the linear way is that the repayment is fixed over a 30-year period. And then you start with interest, of course, over the total debt, and automatically you're going to pay less and less interest every month. That's what we call it the linear way. So you start with a higher amount of money and it's going to decrease every month. That's called the linear way of mortgage. Then the final one, the third one, is the interest only. If you want to reduce your monthly payments, you can decide to choose an interest only mortgage. That's not possible for the whole amount of money, but for one part of the money, for the amount, it's possible just to reduce your monthly payments. And combinations of those are also possible. What our role in the whole process will be is, and we do that always, we're starting with an intake, that we do want to know everything from you, is that we are going to build a mortgage which will fit to your situation. And what kind of mortgage, well, that's impossible to tell because it depends on a lot of, well, different factors.
Sorry for interrupting and reading. For the mortgage part is actually like for us, as we have the options to choose any of the three, and you will give us the advice.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yes. Yes. Well, a standard solution. There's never a standard solution for nobody. So the solution is always which will be fitting you're comfortable with. So it depends totally on your personal situation. And of course, on your income situation as well. Okay, well, let's have a look at a mortgage. And this is just an example for a mortgage of 350,000 euros. And the current interest level, I just choose an interest level for the current situation with the bank at this moment for a 10-year fixed period is 1.44% at this moment. That means if you're going to have a mortgage of 350,000 euros with this interest level for a 30-year period, you're paying for the annuity interest plus principal repayment, you're paying almost 1,200 euros per month. That is the total monthly repayment, and that is then fixed for the coming 10 years. So that means for the coming 10 years, you do know exactly what you have to pay. And after that period, because then the fixed interest period will be passed, then the bank will offer you a new fixed interest period, and you can choose again for fixing it for 1, 5, 10, 20 years. That is up to you and depends on the interest level at that moment. And then you, of course, have the option now. Also, that is dependable on your personal, what you try to want for the coming years. You also can choose for a shorter and longer fixed interest period. The longer you're going to fix the interest level, the higher the interest level will be. And of course, then the higher the monthly payments will be. And also, that is one of the options we're going to have a discussion about if you're planning to buy a property. Okay, well, if we're just looking to have in detail how a mortgage, how an annuity mortgage is working, and that is visible in what you see over here now. We have just showing you that the monthly payments, we call it the gross monthly payments, is 1,198 euros. And then in the first month, you're paying interest and the principal. The interest for the 350,000 euros in the first month is 420 euros per month. And then the repayment is 778 euros per month. And that will be going on every month. So every month you're paying the 1198, and then every month's interest is going down a bit and the repayment is going up a bit. So that's one part. Then for the Dutch situation, we have a system that the interest payments are tax deductible. That means that you will get some money back from the tax authorization, and it's possible to get it back even every month. And then the tax authorization will pay every month a certain amount to your account. And that is what you see in the expected tax return in this example. That means that the net monthly payments, we call it the net monthly payments, is 1,098 euros. So if you want to compare it with renting a property, then you can, of course, have a look at the 1198. You can have a look at the 1,098, but you also can have a look at the interest payment, because the interest is comparable in fact with renting. If I call it, by the way, I'm not a bank, let's make that clear. We're an independent office for mortgages, so I'm not talking like a bank. The interest payment is in fact throwing money away, like throwing money away when you're renting a property. Of course, you have, well, the luxury of having a property and living in a property, but the repayment is also a kind of investment you're going to do. Because finally, you will see that money back again if you're going to sell it or if you don't have a mortgage anymore in the future. And that's one of the reasons why property prices are very high at this moment. If you're going to buy a property, well, very high. That is what a lot of people find because they're looking always at the history. In my opinion, property prices are absolutely not too high. For a property of 350,000 euros, you're paying 420 euros interest. Well, you cannot find a property you can rent and pay a rent for 420 euros. It's not completely correct because you have some additional costs. For example, service costs you have to pay when you're owning an apartment, or you have maintenance when you're having a house. But this is my opinion why the property prices are not too high, caused by the very low interest level. And we do expect that the interest level for the coming year or the coming period will be staying low. What we see at this moment that there will be inflation nowadays. Everything is becoming more expensive, oil prices, transport, all other kinds of stuff. But the European Central Bank is just pushing the interest down. So that is why we do not expect that the interest will go up for the coming period, although you never know. Anyway, this is the example of a 350,000 euro property. And of course, it depends on your personal situation, how much you want to spend every month, and also what your income situation will give you for opportunities. And over here you see well, a mortgage of 350 and 600,000 euro, what it means, again with an annuity mortgage. So over there you see 600,000 euro property, the gross payment again, net payment again, so after taxes, and also how your loan will develop. And maybe that's also quite interesting if you're just having a look in 2032. Let's start again with the 350,000 euro property, that after 10 years, you have paid off almost 100,000 euros. So that is quite a huge amount of money. And if you're going to sell it after 10 years, because maybe you're going back to your home country, maybe you're going back to another country, or for whatever reasons, you also can buy another property. Then, and if the property prices will be the same, not very realistic, but nobody knows, of course, you're going to sell the property, then you have a profit of 100,000 euros or more. And that profit in the Netherlands is also tax-free. And that's quite interesting because in all countries just around us, France, for example, or the United States, I don't know the situation in China, but then you see quite often there's a kind of capital gain tax when you're going to sell the property. If it's more worth than you have paid before, or the difference in between selling price and the outstanding loan. Anyway, you see also the difference in between the 350 and the 600,000 euros property price and mortgage. Well, what is possible in the Netherlands? The maximum mortgage in the Netherlands is 100% of the market price. And maybe then, especially when you're going to buy a property, for example, in Amsterdam or The Hague or in Utrecht, what's happening now at this moment, that we have three prices at this moment. First of all, asking price. You may expect the bid you have to do will be higher than the asking price. So that is the purchase price. And it happens sometimes that the purchase price, not always, but it can happen sometimes, that the purchase price is higher than the market price. And the market price isn't the real market price, because the purchase price is the market, that's you. But the market price also will be calculated in a valuation report. That's always necessary. And what we see that the valuation report, that's an official report that will be done after you have bought, or after the bid has been accepted. Then an independent broker will make a valuation report, and he has to show that report to a certain institute, a validation institute, and they're going to check all the details. And one of the items in that report is that they're looking at 3 other properties which has been recently sold. And that is quite, well, can give some difficulties, because recent prices are prices in history. And when the property, for example, has been sold the 1st of October, maybe, then the bid maybe was done in July. And what we see is a price increase in between July and now. And that price increase is not always possible in the market price in the valuation report. Nothing to worry about, but it does mean that sometimes you have to invest maybe more than you plan to do. Anyway, very important for you is not only having a meeting upfront with a financial advisor. Please do it with us, but any other advisor is also, of course, fine, although we are specialized in assisting, helping people like you. Anyway, but it's also very important to have a very good buying agent, because the market is so difficult. So you always have to you need to have money to invest to make the property yours, because you also have costs to buy a property. And over here you see an example. If you're going to buy a property of 450,000 euros, what costs you can expect. First of all, you have to pay transfer tax. The transfer tax is standard 2%. Since the 1st of January this year, it is necessary when you're going to buy a property that you do have to live in it. And if you're not living in it, then you have to pay a higher transfer tax. That's even 8% at this moment. Up to a property price, that's the other difference, it's not visible over here. Up to a property price of 400,000 euros, and you do not have reached the age of 35, then you do not have to pay any transfer tax. Well, 2 other costs you see over here are the cost for the notary. The notary is the official institution in the Netherlands who's arranging ownership and who is arranging the deed of mortgage. And you're paying the notary, the services for the notary, and that is also visible over here. The buying agent, that is what you need. You're paying, well, the difference is quite huge. At this moment, you can choose a very cheap, well, you can buy a property without a buying agent. You can choose a very cheap one or a very expensive one. Everything is possible in between. The most important, in my opinion, is choosing a good buying agent, because a buying agent is quite simple work. If you're paying the highest price, then you always will buy the property. So a good one is very important to have. And we have quite a lot of connections with buying agents in several parts in the Netherlands. Sometimes it's also necessary and important to do a technical inspection. That is not a valuation report, that is just an inspection of the house or the apartment. They're going to check everything so that you can see what the expected cost will be directly, or the cost will be in the coming years. That gives you a good impression about the quality of the house. Well, our work is also not for free, unfortunately, so we're charging you a fee. And the advantage of choosing us is that well, we're independent, so we're working with all banks, and you don't have to go yourself to a bank. And then if we're doing it this way, then also the bank is not charging you any fee. So we're doing the work for you, and then we can choose any bank for you. Anyway, in this example, the total cost to make the property yours is 15,500 euros. And also nice to know is that all the costs connecting to finance, the right side of the part, are tax deductible. So you also will receive money back from our fee valuation report and the deed of. I hope that's all clear so far. And if you have any questions, just let us know.
Yeah, actually, in the meantime, I can see from the chat box, the Rob, your partner, already interacting with all the questions. Nice.
I see him just in front of me. He's also answering probably. Okay, that is good to know, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why us? Well, that is, we can, well, first of all, what I mentioned before, we're independent. We quite have a lot of experience with expats. By the way, also impats. Impats are people who are living abroad and want to buy a property before they're coming back to the Netherlands, or just after they have coming back to the Netherlands. So we're in fact working worldwide. We're working with people in the Middle East, in China, in, well, name a country, and probably we have helped those people. We're fast and very efficient, much faster than a bank. Just an example, if you want to have a meeting because you have seen a nice property and you want to have a meeting, we make time for that, of course. If you're just contacting a bank, well, then you can wait for 2 weeks before they're planning a meeting for you. And also during that process, and Gabi can tell you everything about that we are going to arrange it in a very fast and efficient way. So if you're going to buy a property now, well, you don't have the keys before the end of the year because we're almost at the end of the year, but it's possible to get the keys within a 4-week period. More important is that we're always looking at your situation. There's no standard mortgage, there's no standard advice. So we're checking always your personal situation, and then you may expect from us a tailor-made advice. And we're going to arrange everything for you, if possible, of course. So you don't have to worry about all kinds of details which banks are sending to you. We will take care of that. And one of the important items at this moment, and that is also because of the current market circumstances, that it happens very often. It's even almost impossible to do that, especially in the cities, that you have to do a bit without the condition of finance. The condition of finance used to be a standard condition in a purchase agreement. But if you're going to do a bit with the condition of finance, that means that you have 4 or 5 weeks time to arrange the mortgage, and when you have the mortgage, then it's fine. But the seller don't want to wait for 4 or 5 weeks. So what happens nowadays is that people doing a bit and leaving that condition out of the bid. And that means that there is a risk, because if you finally don't get a mortgage, then you have to pay a penalty of 10% of the purchase price, and you have nothing. And if we are, and it's not working in Netherlands that you get a pre-approval from a bank. You always get an approval after you have done the bid. And if the situation is there that we are fully convinced that you will get the mortgage, that's based on the intake and all kinds of documents you will send to us, then we give permission. Maybe it's also a bit stupid, we give permission to do a bit without that condition of finance. And if we do that, if we say that to you, and you finally don't get a mortgage, then we are responsible. So we are taking that risk from you to us. And don't worry, we're not going to pay a penalty of 10%. The last 25 years, we've never paid a penalty, and we are fully convinced that will never happen. But I can imagine if you're going to buy a property that you don't want to take that risk, also because you sometimes do not exactly know if the bank will accept you as a client for the mortgage you want to have or need to have. And finally, great network. So we do have corporations with a lot of brokers, for example, we do know the banks very well. We do know the conditions of the banks very well. We do know all kinds of arrangements. So we're having a very huge network to help you for the whole process, and that you're able to buy a property. So then I can say how good we are, but that is not how we act. Just have a look at our website. We're always asking our clients, after the process has been done, just put a quote on our website. Just tell other people who are what your experience was. That is the only thing we're doing. Only at our website. Don't put it on Google or whatever. Just put a quote on our website, and well, that is where you can have a look at, if you're not convinced yet. I don't know the time at this moment, but okay, well, that's 30 minutes. I think that's a good timing. If you have any questions, well, Rob is answering them already probably. You always can contact us, but you also can contact Gabi. I think that is your host now at this moment. So contact her, and then she also can assist you and help you with the start. For example, an intake start, Gabi can do that, and then she will connect it to us, and then we can start well, an intake form and help you to decide if you want to buy or rent a property. So that was the last slide I showed to you. I don't know if there are any questions from your side, Gabi, or.
Great. So now we can officially enter for the Q&A session. And however, it's already happened, paralleling. So, and first of all, thank you, Renee, for giving the overall, not only about the informative, but also educational presentation. And so for all the audience, on site, you can feel free just to unmute yourself, come with your question, or you can leave your question on the chat box. And otherwise, I know some of you have some special, some specific questions about your own situation, like what Renee just mentioned. We have the WeChat group, and you can feel free to contact me, and privately, we can arrange the private intake call. So like what Renee has mentioned is it's quite important before you go to the market and start to view the properties, really schedule the intake call with the financial advisor, understand your loan capacities, and then you know how to bid, how much to bid. This is actually a real case I heard from yesterday. One of the person in Den Haag, and he just bid it, and he also lets the mortgage advisor to arrange the financial condition, the mortgage. But for something happening is he didn't get the property, his mortgage is not being approved. At the end, he lost 5% of the property for 550,000. Yeah. So really prevent those unnecessary risk and the financial loss. So let's have a look. Do we have a question in here? Yes, we got one question.
Maybe good to know is that is not what we have arranged.
No, it's quite important to be clarified. Like what Renee has mentioned, for past 25 years, there's no cases like the penalties under their management. And my personally also had have few cases like for Renee to manage that. For us is when the moment he accepts our case, we know it's gonna be the green light for the rest of the procedure. That's quite important. Yeah. So in the meanwhile, we got the question from Hilton. Hi, Renee, I would like to know how it works with selling the first bought house and buying another one.
Good question, and that's happened, of course, quite often. Well, my advice at this moment depends a bit where the property is, of course, is that you have to prepare selling your property because you do want to know what the property price, the selling price will be from your property, and maybe you even have decided with broker you're going to have a meeting with us, of course, before that. But what you're going to do now in the current market situation is always buy the property first, do the bid before you're going to sell it. Depends again where you have the property. And the solution is that probably you will have a profit if you have bought a property quite time ago, and that we're going to have the new mortgage, of course, and the difference in between the selling price and the outstanding loan can be covered by a bridging loan. So that you do have two properties at the same time for a certain period. And after you've sold the property, then the current mortgage will be paid off, the bridging loan will be paid off, and then that is the solution for that.
Great. I hope it's answered for Q2 your question.
Also has already sent some information about that.
No, yeah. What I want to add to that is that it's even more important to talk to us before. I'll put on my video. Sorry. Have a talk with us before, because we always check that sometimes it's a better solution to keep your property, rent that one out, swap that one to a buy-to-let, and buy the new property and mortgage that more. If that's a possibility in the current market, that could be financially a better idea. So always before you put the house on sale, what you're going and the ideas you have, what you're going to do. First, have a meeting. If it's perhaps possible to have two houses and rent one out.
And we ask an extra question about the Q10. How long actually are you allowed to keep two properties during the bridging loan?
The banks, the banks doesn't say that you expect you to sell the property, but they don't have a certain timeline for that. So you have 1 year the time to sell the property, or 1 year to change your current mortgage in, we call it a buy-to-let mortgage. But you always start with buying a new property before you're going to sell, or before you're going to change your mortgage into a buy-to-let mortgage.
Got it. Yes. So
we
actually,
call that way a buy-to-let mortgage. You already own the property, but what you're going to do is to rent it out, change your mortgage, because the current bank is not allowing you to rent out. So you do have to change your mortgage into another type of mortgage. And then you have two loans, the new one and the old one, and you have rental income. And that is also a lot of people are doing. And a lot of Chinese people are doing that because, more than people in the Netherlands. That's what I've noticed.
Lovely. Okay, so I hope it's really like answered Q2 your question, and it's also like giving us extra information. You can actually transfer your self-living property into the investment property and transfer the mortgage from the self-living mortgage to the buy-to-let, the investment mortgage. Great, yeah. And also like what Rob said.
Maybe it's good to have maybe another meeting that we're just having a meeting only for a buy-to-let mortgage, because I do know a lot of people are buying properties for renting out, or the situation which Rob makes quite clear, that buying a property and rent out your current property. That's there's a lot of demand for those solutions.
Nice. Okay, let's move on for the rest of the questions. Yeah, well, the questions keep on coming. So one is from the Xiao Yan. He asked, I am curious if there is budget to pay back part of the mortgage each year. For example, 30K. Which model do you think it's better? If there's a budget extra, it's good action to pay it back and ahead. And which model? I guess you mean like which interest rate or which interest type, right?
No, it's about, if I understand it, it's about an extra repayment.
Yeah.
The maximum repayment was standard for all banks without any penalty, 10% of the original amount. So in the example of the 350,000 mortgage, you can pay off always without any penalty 35,000 euros per year, sometimes even more, depends also on the bank. Again, tailor-made solution, because there are also banks that you can pay off always without any penalty if you can prove it from your private funds.
Okay, got it. Can you change your bank?
Yes, also possible. Also, what a lot of people do at this moment, if they're still paying a high interest rate at this moment, that some people also move from one bank to the other bank because they want to have the lower interest level. Then you do have a penalty, because the penalty will be calculated by the old bank, and then you have to pay the difference in between the current interest level, the market will change you, and the interest level you're paying at that moment. So then you sometimes have to pay a penalty for changing the mortgage. That penalty is, by the way, tax deductible.
Awesome, great. Yeah. So so again, like for Xiaoyuan, if you have some if you need it, you can also just make appointment for the one-on-one meeting. Yeah, with Renee, and maybe Rob can be there too. Yeah. Okay. So now we got the question from Dawn, and she's asking if we keep the current house. I believe it's her current living house, and it will imply 8% transfer cost. Or not?
No. If you're having already a property, then you own the property already. And if you're going to change it into a buy-to-let mortgage, or if you want to rent it out, then you don't have to pay any costs for transfer tax or notary costs, because you already own the property. The only thing what has to be changed, probably if you do have a mortgage, of course, is the mortgage. And those costs is you do have to pay. So you have to pay the fee for arranging it, valuation report, you have to go to the notary. So in fact, the cost you have seen on the right side, that is what you do have to pay. The left side, you own the property already.
Got it. Yeah. So now in the meantime, she's might going to retype her question, and she want to make her question more clear. And let's ask about the transfer tax for the self-living and investment property, right? 2% and 8%.
Yes.
I have heard the information. Is that really true? If you buy the property under the name of self-living mortgage, but you sell it within a year, tax government might treat this action as the investment property. They might come back to you to ask you to pay for 8%.
Well, not very clear, because they've changed the rules the 1st of January. What I do know, I get some information from the tax authorities. What they do know, the tax authorities, that they're going to check after 6 months if you'll be registered at the property you have bought. So the notary is responsible. The notary is responsible what the amount of transfer tax will be. You give the information to the notary that you're going to buy the property and planning to live in it. That's all, in fact. And then the tax authorities can check that if you're really going to do that. But even when you buy a property and finally you decide not living in it and going to sell it again, your intention was that you're going to live in it. So 2% transfer tax.
Got it.
Yes, if you're doing it just the opposite way, so if you're going to buy a property and say, well, I'm going to live in it, and you're going to rent it out, then you have a problem, or maybe have a problem, because nobody knows if the tax authorization will come back to you or find out. But
yes, I heard actually in tax authorization, they know small things that what we think they know. So it's better do things like, flexible with your situation, but also followed by the legal standards, right? Always in communication. Yeah. Okay. So then let's correct the conversation, the question, modified from Ms. Dong. I'm responding to the proposal from my colleague. So is to keep the current house and to buy the second house. Okay, so her colleague has the current house for the self-living, and he or she wants to buy the second house. They should be pay 8% or 2% for the second house. Okay.
Depends on what you're going to do. If you're going to buy the second house and going to rent it out, 8%.
Yeah,
and
the second house is like invest in the house, right?
My advice, but that is in fact an individual advice, because well, it's important to have meetings about that. my advice is just to follow the rules. So don't buy a property that you say, well, I'm going to buy the property, living in itself, and finally you're going to rent it out, because if the tax administration find out, then they come back to you, you still have to pay the 6%, and they also will charge you a penalty. Of 100%. That is what we expect. And then you as an individual have to prove to the tax administration that your plan was buying the property for living in it. It's quite difficult.
But for her colleague situation,
example, when you're Kabi, where you can imagine if you're having a property of well, say maybe 100 square meters, and you're going to buy another property for 50 square meters, and you say to the tax authorization, yes, but I was planning to live in it, and you have also 2 kids, it's not very realistic.
Yeah, but probably for the situation, her colleague can consider about to use the first house like the bridging loan, and to buy the second one as the investment property, and have the 8% transfer tax, right?
Yes, but the combination with the bridging loan is not working, because the bridging loan has to be paid off always when you sell the property.
Got it. Again, let's just have like the private conversation and get some tailor-made solution for that.
Yes,
okay.
If there are any questions, people always can contact us by phone, WhatsApp, or any communication, and we always can plan a meeting. Maybe also good to know is that we're working in a way, well, we call it no cure, no pay. So first of all, you have to buy the property, and before we're going to charge you any fee. So the introduction fee is always free, because you cannot decide with during one meeting that we will arrange everything for you. And also when you go to a lot of other financial institutions or banks, they first start with a contract. That's not the way how we work. We work in well, we trust each other, we trust you. We also expect the other way around.
Yes, thank you for putting the trust on us, and we are putting the trust in our community. And the thing is, in here, I remember my first conversation with Renee. It was like 8 p.m. in the evening, and so and the thing is that they are always reachable, and they're always in communication, and they have the risk control mindset to ensure you and really got your mortgage. And like what he said, no cure, no pay. So feel free to really, like, before you take action, always get a lot of information from them and make your own investment proposal and plan. Okay, so this is gonna be the last question since our time is there. So it's last question from Zhang, and the question is, could you get personal tax refund for transferring cost and the mortgage cost? How to claim around, how much could you claim back? It's something to do with a tax for a mortgage. Yes.
Yes, if you're going to buy the property for yourself, if you're going to live in it, all the costs connecting to finance are tax deductible. And it depends about the height of your income, what you really get back from the tax authorization. At this moment, it is approximately 40% of all those costs will be coming back to you.
40% of all the cost when you're buying the property.
Connecting to arranging the mortgage, in fact. So if you're going to buy a property, you don't need a mortgage, then you don't get anything back. And what is necessary for the mortgage valuation, our fee, the deed of mortgage. Well, we didn't spoke about NHG, maybe that's for another meeting as well. That's kind of well, insurance, the national mortgage, we call it national mortgage guarantee, sorry. That is up to a property price of 355,000 euros. Those costs are also tax deductible.
Definitely, this is a very good topic actually to mention about. Our audience can get direct and get some benefit from that. Yeah. So and so indeed, like I think time's there. And in the meantime, thanks for our audience and also like for your question. And Mrs. Stone, she also already gave some suggestions about our next session. And maybe we can talk about further, reading about the buy-to-let, the mortgage, right? And she also lists all those bullet points, and looking forward to hear the insight sharing from you. Yeah. So I think, yeah, have more questions coming. What's your charge for arranging the financing? So I think so Renee has mentioned about in one of the example, if you are buying a property for 450,000, their side is about 3,500, and but it also depends case by case. And the most important is low cure, low pay, and also their service can be tax deductible. Yeah. So let's just feel free to reach them or reach us, since we are in the WeChat group, and we will arrange the appointments with each other and support for the end-to-end communication. Yeah. So I think that's all for today, and really thank you Renee and Rob for being there, and also keep on preparing and modify this PowerPoint, give the latest index and number for us, and so reading with all the information you share. And also thank you for each of you to be there in the middle of the day, and hope you already had lunch. Also health comes first. Yeah. So feel free to reach us about all your ideas with what you want to hear, to learn for the next seminar about the property mortgage. And also feel free to reach us to book the one-on-one meeting and to get your situation in communication with our the mortgage expert. So if you have some markup services you need, also feel free to contact us. So that's all for today. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So, and let's stay connected. And if we don't see each other within 2021, I'm looking forward to see you in 2022. We will have more seminars, going to deliver to our community. Thank you all, and have a good day.